Well, hello everybody, welcome back to another Anna Chaos Living with a Toy Collector, and this week we're going to look at a toy line called Socky Chooks. So if you guys remember, this is around the area of like Stormhawks, Fanboy, and Chom Chom. It was like an explosion of like early 3D animation, and that's where these guys came in. I have several toys in the series, so we're pretty much going to review some of them today. So yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look. Alright, so some of you guys probably now start recognizing who Socky Chooks were. They came out around 2007, 2008 era. And I remember these because they were out in Cartoon Network. At the time, I had just finished my animation degree and I was still avidly watching a lot of stuff that like Cartoon Network was putting out, all these like main media put out. And Socky Chooks was pretty interesting. So you could pretty much go to Wikipedia. They do have their own page. The show originally is pretty much entered the market through Cartoon Network Europe and then eventually made it to Cartoon Network here in the States where we saw it, and then I believe later on it went somewhere else as well. However, the show was done by Sergio Delfino. The show only ended up having one season, but a total of 26 episodes. And when you think about it, by today's standards, that's technically 2 or 3 seasons. Because the seasons now went from, I remember at one point they used to be like 30 episodes long, now 26 episodes long, and now modern day are down to like 6 to 8 episodes per season, if that. So 26 episodes is the equivalent of practically 2 or 3 seasons by today's standards. You can go on YouTube and find the show right here. So I went to YouTube and I looked for it. You can see there's the whole series, Socky Chooks on YouTube, all 26 of them. So if you want to watch them, that's a good place to go back and relive those memories. They do have them on, if you want to find out a little more, you do have them on IMDb. This is Rotten Tomatoes. IMDb, for whatever reason, I could not find Socky Chooks on there. But you can go to Rotten Tomatoes and find out a little more. And honestly, the show was entertaining. To me, it was very entertaining. You had 3 characters, which was Chickpea. Chickpea was the female character. Then you have K.O. Joe, which he's reminiscent of Black Dynamite from the 1970s, like old black, I don't want to say black exploitation, but it was like black like culture cinema, which to be honest, they also made Black Dynamite on Adult Swim, and it was absolutely fantastic. So totally loved this. So Chicken with an Afro, how can you go wrong? And then you had another character called Charlie Chucky Chan, and he was kind of more reminiscent of like a Mr. Miyagi mixed with like Jackie Chan and all kinds of stuff. He was very politically not correct, but whatever. But these are all chickens, so they are martial art chickens. It's pretty much what it comes down to, and they fight evil. Yada 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 yada. It's pretty generic stuff, but it was pretty entertaining for the time. Now these guys are done by Aardman Studios. You might also recognize some of their stuff. They worked on like a lot of the Wallace and Gromit stuff. Let me see right here. They work on films, TV, and games for an international company. And you can see right here, there's Chicken Run. They've also worked on a lot of like claymation-based stuff throughout the years. Home Sheep Home, but they do more like international markets kind of stuff. Flushed Away, the Pirates and the Adventures of the Pirates of the Booty. I can't remember what's the title, but either way, this is the company that pretty much worked on that show, and they have way more. And this is pretty much the toy line. I believe I have most of the figures. I have 1 or 2, so I don't have this figure right here, and I don't have this one. But we'll go ahead and I'll walk you through the figures that I have. Now, if you kind of missed out on this toy line, you were a fan of the show, you can still easily go on eBay and you can find them. On here, there is a plethora to pretty much, there is quite a bit of options. So you can go here and you can kind of catch up to your childhood memories if you were a fan of the show. So, but let's go ahead and take a much closer look at the figures themselves. Alright guys, so let's take a closer look at these figures. I'm not sure if you're noticing, I'm kind of been trying between lights on, lights off. It just depends on the time of the year. The lights, I think they're a little too strong, so I might have to eventually figure out a different setting to light up this a little bit better. But for total, as far as I'm tracking, there are 8 figures in total. So there are 3 of the larger vehicles, and then there's 5 of the smaller vehicles. I unfortunately only have 2 out of the 5. So I happen to have the Chucky Chan car, and I have the KO and car, but I don't have the Ninja Chimp and quad bike. I don't have the Sentry Bot, and I don't have the skateboard KO Joe. So those are the ones that I am missing. Now normally I don't open boxes, but I think for these, as you can see, some of the rubber bands are starting to come off, so I do want to clean them up a little bit. So I'm probably going to go ahead and open these, and I'm going to try to pull them out without destroying the packaging. So let's take a closer look. Okay, so here is the KO Joe figure. I don't want to take him apart from the box, but for most part you can see he's kind of like a doom buggy. There he is right there. He is riding the motorcycle. Unfortunately, some of the rubber bands that were holding it in place had disintegrated after 10 years. These things were not meant to stay in the packaging forever. It was meant to go from the production line, shipped overseas, given to a kid, and then pretty much broke apart like a Tasmanian devil. But he does have like a little foot on his head for an Afro pick, which I think is hilarious. Actually, it is an Afro pick in there. And the bottom, you can see the bottom of the figure. As far as I know, these were just basic cars. They were not Hot Wheels. They were not the ones that you like pull back and then they just kind of wound up and they can go into just a basic character on a vehicle. And it even says right here, includes removable figures, so he can be taken off and they can be, there's pretty much 2 separate pieces. Is pretty much what you see right here. As for packaging, nothing too crazy. You can see there's him right there, and it's just a basic cardboard. Nothing too crazy, holding it at the bottom. Like I said, I don't want to take it apart. So, but all in all, that is pretty neat. Alright, here is motorized Chucky Chan. I kid you not, that's literally right there. I'm not making that up. And again, similar to the other one, some of these rubber bands are disintegrating. You can see right there that he is riding the vehicle. You can see also the little sticker of the Chucky Chooks on the top. Some of the paint jobs was kind of mad. You can see it right there in the forehead. It was not the best. But you know, you're talking about a kid's toy, so whatever. The decals on the car were pretty dope. So the figure was kind of weak, but the car is pretty awesome. As you can see down here, this one's kind of being held down by the plastic. I am not gonna pull it out because I don't want him to fall. Actually, hold on. Can I pull him? Nope. I am not gonna mess with that. Don't feel like dealing with that. Okay, but you can see right there, it's just like the other vehicle. It's just a little car that happens to have the figure. The figure is also detachable, but all in all, pretty cool so far. Here is a larger scale vehicle, and just like the little one, they put a lot of effort into the car. Whoever designed this, the car is pretty spot on. You know, I think it's really cool. Again, it's just a very bigger rendition, and then there is the character right here, and Rev and Go. And what's really crazy is that the little, I don't want to call it a waddle because that's incorrect, but the little thing at the top of his head, they actually texture it like they did in the show. So I thought that was kind of neat, and the figure looks a lot better than the itty bitty one that we saw early on. So, but let me see what else it said right here. See, motorized vehicles and figures. Let me see. Chucky suck. Nope, nothing says that it is. So like I said, apparently it's a wrap and go. So these are the ones where you literally get to wrap it and then you just pull back and it just kind of goes. So it's like more of the OG kind of toys that I grew up with like some of the Hot Wheels and Micro Machines and all that stuff. So, but that right there is pretty dope. So here is motorized Bubba, and Bubba's one of the bad guys on there, and he's got like this like combat jet plane vehicle. You can see it on the show, and it's kind of like a piranha shark kind of vehicle with like camo on it. It's super cute. I tell you, if you're a little kid and this is like your first show, this is really cute. This is really neat. and it's kind of like a Shark Tank thing. And then there's Bubba. I like how they actually kept his style from the show. Bubba's just huge, itty bitty tiny legs, big old arms, had very like Chuck Jones kind of looking figure. So, but they did. This is fun. This is totally fun. And here's the next one, last but not least. Here is KO Joe. Even though he's standing this unique pose, you can actually sit him in the vehicle. Again, you can see the Chucks, try to say that 3 times fast, sticker on the top. Kind of Hot Wheels-ish kind of look. But, you know, all in all, they did a pretty good job on this. I think it's really cute. For little kids, I thought this was really cute. And it's got a little Afro pick. I totally love that. So let's take one final look. There's the 4-rider, KO Joe. There's his vehicle. There's Bubba. And his was the only one that he didn't get an alternate vehicle. But again, super cute. They're still not expensive. You go on eBay, you can still find them. But that's pretty dope. Anyway, guys, all in all, like I said, I'll keep digging through my collection. This is one that I'm still debating whether to sell it or not, because I like Chucks, but I'm not too close to it. It wasn't like Stormhawks. Like, I really like Stormhawks. I really like the series. But this one, it was fun, but I don't think it's enough for me to keep the toys. So it's probably going to go to my sell pile. So, but all in all, again, it's a fun show. You can watch it on YouTube. It's been out for a while. And by the way, when it comes to my videos, what I'm trying to do is do one a week. So I'm trying to kind of figure out my schedule a little bit better so that way I can accommodate for that. So if you see me only posting one disappearing, is because, again, I have a lot going on right now, including I finally picked up on some freelance, so I have to manage my time a little more carefully. But the goal for this channel is to do once a week. So that's pretty much the what I'm trying to do right now. But I enjoy this. I enjoy just going through, and again, I'm downsizing while at the same time kind of just, you know, going back and enjoying some of these memories and looking through them and determine what I want to keep, what I don't want to keep. And but oh no, again, this is just me having fun, and it ain't that serious. It's just me sharing my collection and downsizing. Anyway, guys, I'll talk to you guys later. Please like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.